Alright YouTube, how's it going? It's time for another video. This time I have a video for you on some of my uplights. I've started doing the conversion to install this little cable, which is a balancing lead into the battery inside the light. And what I have here is a battery that I've shown before, and this particular battery had the power supply died on it. It wasn't charging anymore, so it wasn't, I couldn't do anything with this battery. So it was a good time to try this because I saw it on Facebook. Somebody else actually had done this before, and so I've been reading up on these batteries and how to get the most life out of them. Well, because the chargers that they have are really not the best chargers for these batteries. Well, I take that back. They're not optimized. They don't optimize for the best lifespan of your battery inside your uplights. So what I added was this connector, which is a 4-pin connector, and it goes into a charger like this one, which is a balance charger. You can also discharge the batteries if you needed to, but this is a balance charger. And you can also use a balance charger like this one, which is a little bit smaller, so you can see the pin goes in here on this one, and this goes on this one here. So this one has a lot more options that you can do: 4 cells, 3 cells, 2 cells, 6 cells, and 5 cells. We're going to be working mainly with 3 cells, so that's why we have the 4 cables, and I'll show you an illustration of how this gets connected to your battery. So why do you want to do that? There's a couple of reasons that came up to me, and the number one is you're gonna stretch the battery life up to 3 times than normal without using this balancing charger. That's one reason you want to do it. You're gonna get more for your money. The other reason is you reduce the risk of the batteries getting damaged and possibly catching on fire because you're putting too much power into one set of cells. And I'll also go into detail on that. So this is actually very important. I'm kind of surprised why these lights don't come with this balance charger more than they do, and I'm really just kind of baffled as to why these don't come in there. I mean, that's all you have to do is solder these 4 wires into the battery, and you can get a lot of information out of it. Because without that, the only indicators you have are something like that, or maybe some have a LCD screen that has 0% to 100%, but they don't tell you anything else. So obviously the less LEDs that are lit on this panel, that's how much voltage you have, or how much lives you have left. But you can't see. I have one battery that can stay at 4 bars, 4 LEDs for a long time, and then all of a sudden it drops down and disappears. So it doesn't help you a lot to know how much, if it's at 2 bars, how much life is left. If it's at 3 bars, how much life is left. If it's at 4 bars, did it just get there, or does it have a whole volts left or 2 volts left? There's nothing indicating other than 4 LEDs. But I mean, I realize most of the time you're probably going to charge it either way, whether it's at 3 or 4. You're going to get it all the way to 4 before you use it, so you can get the most life out of it, and that's okay, because you can do that with these particular batteries. There's nothing wrong with doing that. So adding this, you can buy one of these little gadgets on eBay. I think it's $1 or $2 shipped to your house. And what this does is you stick it in here, and it's gonna give you actual voltage. So we have the full battery is 12.3 volts. And then it goes into the breakdown of how much each individual cell of batteries it is. So number 1 is 4.13, number 2 is 4.14, number 3 is 4.08. So we have a number finally, right? So that's one thing. So you saw the battery is fully charged. And one thing I did note is that that light turns on a little bit under 12 volts and it'll last all the way to 12.6 volts. So that's getting somewhere. I mean, at least we know that now thanks to this little gadget. And we can double check with this meter here and we're going to find out that it might be close. I mean, these are not the most accurate. None of these have been calibrated by a professional. So we're getting some numbers that are, let me see, that are probably going to be a little bit off from each other. So 12.46 versus 12.3. So it's in the area of, 0.14 volts or, 0.1 volt. So, so now we know that we can see the voltage. And let me show you a drawing of how the batteries are inside the light. So this is how the batteries are wired. This particular light has 18 individual cells. So each battery is called a cell. However, each set of cells that is wired together is seen as one cell. So since these 6 are wired in parallel, they're seen as one cell. So this is a 3 series for 6 parallel configuration battery. So we have 6 in series, 6 in parallel, and 3 cells in series. So again, this is a cell and this is also a cell because you see all this as the same voltage, and you see all this as the same voltage, and this row has the same voltage. So on ours, we had, on the first one we had 4.13 if I remember correctly. On the second one we had 4.14 if I remember correctly. And on the last one we've had 4.08, which that's based on this little guy right here. So this is the numbers we're going to use. And that, if I get my phone somewhere, I can't say I don't have a phone. If we add all that up, we got so we have 12.35. So that's what this was giving us is 12.3. The other one is giving us, the multimeter was giving me 12.45, we'll say. So it's only 0.1 difference. So one of these needs to be calibrated. We don't know which one. They're both cheap electronics until I get a one that's been calibrated, and it's one of the expensive ones. We won't be able to tell. That doesn't matter. So this battery has been balanced by this lead. This is called the balance lead. And to do that, you need a balanced charger like this one, or on this particular light, I think I mentioned it already, but the power supply in it burned out. So I took out the cable that goes directly into the battery and took it outside so I can charge it with this guy. So how that works is, is we have these 2 leads that go on here that supply our 12.6 volts with this, and then there's an adapter that goes into that, and then this goes on this connector right here. So I'll push it in there. You can see it goes in there and it does the whole charging. So on this lead it's applying a constant supply of 12.6 volts, and on this one it's doing the actual balancing, so that they're all pretty much the same voltage across. Ideally you'd want to have 4.14 or 4.14. Something is not completely balanced here, so this should be around 4.14. That's not a big difference. It's only a difference of 0.06 volts, which is not a lot. If there was a difference of maybe 0.5 volts or around that Anything different, anything more than 0.2 volts, I think it's going to start having problems. So what happens, and why do you want to balance? The reason you want to balance is the chargers that come in your lights, the power supplies that come in the lights, they're not doing what this does. This works by sticking this little cable on here. So one goes on here, the other connection goes there, the other connection goes there, and the last connection goes there. So now we can read the voltage on these two pins across here and there, or the voltage on these two pins to get us this voltage, or the voltage on these two pins that give us that. So that's why when this thing lights up, it tells you the total voltage from here to there, black to red, the voltage on cell 1, which is black to yellow, the voltage on cell 2, which is yellow to blue, and so on, blue to yellow. So that's why you want to add this on here. So you can tell the voltage on each cell, and also you're able to balance it. So how does balancing work? I've seen some videos that explain it. So what happens is each cell has a maximum voltage of 4.2 volts, whether it's one or this whole group of cells has a maximum of 4.2. Cell number 2 has a maximum of 4.2, and then a maximum of 4.2, which gives us 12.6 volts. That's the max. You don't want to go too far over that. Ideally, you don't even want to go over it. However, balanced charging works like this. So let's say this one is at 4.0. What's going to happen is that this charger is going to push a little bit more. I mean, you're at 4.0 is not going to give you 12.6. It's going to give you 12.4. Scratchy writing. So it still can push 0.2 volts to all these, but you don't want to go too high on this, right? Because that's the max. That's the absolute max. So little by little, it raises this voltage to, let's say, 4.3, and this one goes to 4.1. Well, at that point, it stops and lets these come down, stops charging, and lets these come down back to 4.2. So now this one's at 4.1. So again, it pushed. Now it's at 12.5. So now it's going to push 12.6 volts across all these again. Let this one go up to 4.3 again, and this one would go up to 4.2, and then it's going to allow these to come back down. Now that's my understanding of how these machines balance it. So even though you can't go past 4.2, you can get away with every once in a while doing it to 4.3, and then allowing this battery to come up on the next charge. Somehow like that is how it works. That's my understanding, unless I'm told differently by somebody that knows more than I do. But that's my understanding on how these work to balance out the battery. The power supplies that are in here do not do that. So you need to get one of these or one of these. If you get one of these, this one doesn't have the output for 12.6 volts. It just has the balancing lead out. So what you would do with one of these, and I think these are like $6. What you would do with one of these is keep this plug on the inside on the power supply that comes with your light, because it's always going to be pushing 12.6 volts. Always, no matter where it is. And then do the balancing with this machine. Once these are all red when they're off balance, and once everything's balanced out, they turn green, and that's your only indication. You don't know how many volts there are, don't know how far apart they are, but they do work. Some people are using these. So just stick this in here, or have this thing leading out, and let the internal power supply charge your battery with the full 12 volts. I've used this on this battery. The first time I did was, these are cheap, so I bought this, and it took me about 4 days to charge this one battery all the way to 12.4 volts. So 4 days, this will do it in, I think I did it in 2 hours, I believe, 2 or 3 hours. And then it went from one LED left over all the way up to the 4. And I think it was like at 3.66 per cell. So whatever that number comes up times 3 is what it was at. I think it was like 11 point. Let's say that's 11 point. If I remember correctly, that was around 11 point. Quickly. Let's just say 11.6. Even though it's not. So, I charged it. It took about 2 hours to charge this from 11.6 to 12.3 where it's at right now. Now let's cover the minimum voltage. The minimum voltage on these is 3.0 volts. That's the max, and this is the minimum. You don't want to go below this. That's the absolute bottom, and this is the absolute max. So once you balance these batteries, you don't have to do it all the time. I would probably check these that they're in balance every, I don't know, at first you probably want to do it every month, every 2 months until you're comfortable with it. But you can actually go about 6 months to a year without having to balance if everything goes good. So it all depends on the electronics that are used inside the LED Uplight, but in ideally you don't have to balance charge all the time. So let's look at another scenario why you would want to balance. So let's say you have one cell that charges at a faster rate, or actually at a slower rate than the other two cells. What's going to happen is over time, because maybe one battery in here is not working correctly or whatever happens. So let's say over 2 years that you used your battery without the balanced charger, you decide to put it in there, and these are about 2 years, and this is exactly what happened here. You're going to get a difference on a bad cell. You're going to get a big difference. So you might get a difference of, let's say, 3.8 when it's fully charged. And again, remember, this is pushing 12.6 volts no matter what. So let's say you're fully charged at, you put your reader and it's 12.6 volts. But your cell number 1 is 3.8. Cell number 2 is I'm gonna divide whatever's left over from that. So that's 0.4. So this is going to be 4.4, and this is going to be 4.4, and that should give you your 12.6 volts. Either way, these two cells are either going to fail because they're always going past the maximum, and they're getting each time you charge it over, you're reducing the life of this, and depending on how long you have it charged up like that. Or this one's gonna fail because whenever you bring it down to 9 volts, the minimum that the battery protection is gonna, that's where it cuts off. So whenever the battery cuts off, it's not at 0, it's at 9 volts, because the minimum is 3 plus 3 plus 3, 9 volts. And there's a little circuit in there that cuts it off if it gets at 9 volts. So at 9 volts, these are gonna be probably gonna be at 3.2, 3.2, and this is going to be at 2.6, and that should give you your 9 volts. This battery might fail here, and this is probably more of a scenario because usually you have one full cell go out on your battery. So if this cell goes out, that means that these batteries are never going to charge to 9 volts. The maximum 2 cells are going to get are 8.4 volts. So that battery, this light is never going to work again, because it detects the smart circuit on it detects that it's at a voltage that, first of all, it's going to detect that one of the cells is at 0 or at less than 3 volts, whatever it is, anywhere from 0 to 3 volts. So that right there is going to stop from charging, and it's going to stop from the light ever working again, just so you don't blow up batteries. What else can we cover here? What else am I missing? So just to recap, this, again, remember, the reason this is happening is because the charger that's included with your battery cannot see what's going on between here and there, and that's why I think this lead is very important. So by balancing charging, another thing that I kind of came across is, by balanced charging, you're going to increase the life of your battery by 300%. Now that's a guesstimate that's going around the internet, and I think I kind of believe it. I mean, I'm already starting to see people whose batteries are dying after a year or 2 years of using them because there's no balancing on them. And this scenario happens a lot, to where the batteries go either past their maximum or go below their minimum, and that's going to kill your battery fast. Every time you discharge it past below 3, you're killing your battery. You're damaging it inside. Not only that, it can catch on fire, and that's something you don't want, because these start heating up when they get past 4.2. So imagine if this battery is dying, eventually this is going to get below 3. So that's going to push these to, let's see, so we got 1.2 to distribute across here. So this is going to go to 4.8 and 4.8. I'm just kind of going off of this. I don't know if that's 100%. So this is very dangerous. This is dangerous. This is when they start heating up. They start discharging faster. Heat also kills them a little bit, and this is what you don't want. So this one's going to die first, probably. This whole cell is going to die first, and these are going to be damaged. So you already killed the lifespan of these. So you can replace this cell, even though it's not easy, but you can. And you're gonna have some fresh new batteries, but this one's gonna die maybe within, the next 6 months or so, and then it's also gonna kill it. So it's just a overall good scenario to be able to balance your batteries. So that should give you an overall idea of balancing your batteries, or actually installing this little thing so you can save your battery life. So one more thing that I want to go over is these particular lights. They claim, under normal usage, you're going to get 500 cycles. Well, if you notice, there's 52 weeks in a year. So that means that just by using the charger in there, you're going to get 500 charges and discharges. So that means that they should last, 10 years, right? With this thing. But we know that these numbers are exaggerated, and the numbers that we're seeing is 1 to 2 years. So that's about, and really not everybody's using these every weekend. We're using them, let's say, every other weekend. There's a few people that might be using them every weekend, but that number, let's just assume it's going to be, anywhere from 50 to 150 cycles. I'm just guessing at this number. So that's 50 times that you charge these batteries fully. A whole full cycle would be going from 3 volts all the way to 4.2 volts. That's one cycle, and then maybe you're at 3.8, and then you take it up to 4.2, so that might be half a cycle, and then again, so that's so that's how the cycles work. One full cycle is going from 3 to 4.2 volts. And so if we take this number, not this one, because if you multiply it by 3, you get 1500 cycles. That's, you know, that's forever. So instead of going from 1 to 2 years, we're going to go from, you know, 3 to 6 years by adding these lead and balancing. I would say you want to balance, you know, every 6 months, every year, and you're gonna find out that if you balance them, you're probably not gonna need to balance them that often, because they tend to maintain, again, unless you have a bad cell on one of these that's charging at a different rate because one of the batteries is not working correctly, and then you're just out of luck, then you might just want to replace the whole pack. So how much are these packs? What I'm finding for good quality batteries, if you want to make your own pack, we have 18 of them, so let's just do 20 batteries. You know, you want to buy a few more. I'm seeing anywhere from $6 to $10 per battery. So, you know, if you buy 20, you know, that's $120. So this is for good no-name brand, and this is around what you want to pay for a good name brand, which we have here are Samsung, and then the other one is Panasonic. So Samsung and Panasonic, and these are called Lithium Ion Batteries. They come like this. These are some that I pulled off of a laptop, so I kept them together because they have the same voltage. If I disconnect this right here, this battery has exactly the same voltage on here. These are on just a little quick information. Also, that's important too. These are on what we call storage voltage. So I'm gonna check the voltage here, and we're gonna get 3.7, 3.8 volts is our storage voltage. So these are at storage voltage because I don't know what to do with them yet. Maybe I'm waiting for one of these to fail and I can swap it out. And this one's gonna be a little bit higher, 3.9, 3.8, 3.89, 3.9. And these are gonna be pretty much the same as this. The last one that's individually I didn't do. So these are 3.75, 3.75, 3.71. So these were charged by this charger to the balance, to the setting that says balance storage. So storage brings the batteries to 3.8 volts, and that's what they're recommended if you're going to store them for a long time and not use them. So that means that these batteries inside these lights should not be fully charged or fully discharged when you store them. Now this one has a circuit in there that's always on, so it brings it all the way down whether you use it or not. And I don't know why, it's just that's the way they are designed, but it does discharge it completely even though you don't use it for, let's say, a month. When you try to turn it on, it will be dead. And actually all the batteries, all the Uplights that I have do that. I don't know if that's a feature they included or that's just a mistake on them for not checking. Who knows? But that's what happens, which is not good for the life of the battery also. And this is the other battery that I have. This one has an LED display that tells us, you know, same configuration, 4 bars, 1, 2, 3 bars. And I don't know if this one says how, let's see, go through this, system settings, you can do the white balance, battery icon, can turn it off. So it doesn't say how well charged it is. A little information, the LED temperature, software, work hours. I've never used this light. Interesting. PCV temperature, which is good to know. LED temperature, but it doesn't have a battery temperature, and you do want to know the battery temperature. So this is a newer battery. This one just tells you that, well, I think I turned off the icon. Turn it off. This is the battery that I talked about earlier, that it'll be on full for, you know, let's say 3 hours, and then all of a sudden it drops to 2 bars, and those 2 bars last maybe 1 hour. And this one also, if you turn it off, it will, if you turn it off and don't use it for a long time, a month or so, it will discharge all the way down. So but what I find is that when you plug it in, there's only there's 3 bars, 2 bars. I think the minimum I've seen is 1 bar. So when you plug it in, it shoots back up to 2 bars, and it looks like it's only charging 1 bar. I don't know why. I still don't understand everything about these lights and batteries, but that should be it. That should give you an idea of why you want to balance your batteries inside your Uplights. Maybe you've had them for 2 years. Installation is really simple, but you do have to be careful because you're messing with lithium ion batteries. So if you cross any of these wires, you're gonna get the scare of your life. All right, that's it. Questions, comments, feel free to do so. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, thumbs down if you thought I was boring, but be sure to participate, and also ask any questions you may have. I will do a follow-up video on this, and I'm also going to do a video on how to install this on the batteries. So make sure you stay tuned. Thank you so much.